Hey, greetings everyone from our home to yours. I hope this finds you safe and well. Today, our scripture passages come from Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through 10. This is the story of Jesus having a discussion with his disciples about who is the greatest in heaven. So, as an answer, Jesus stands a child among his followers, and he tells them that they must become like this child even to enter the kingdom of heaven, let alone be the greatest. And what Jesus meant, of course, is that we are to be as humble as a child, that pure childlike joy and humility, and to be like children. But children are also dependent upon their parents or their caregiver for almost everything. So not only are we to be humble like a child, we're to be dependent and utterly caring upon what God provides for us. Then Jesus shifts gears a little bit and he starts talking about how we are to treat each other, and he uses children as an example. And he uses this treatment of children as a focal point. And that's because children at this time were probably the lowest on the social ladder. They were the lowest in the pecking order. Even in our history, when I was a kid, kids ate at a different table during the holidays, and kids were to be seen and not heard. So they were the lowest in the social standing. And Jesus is saying how you treat kids and the way that you treat children, the lowest in the social order, is the way you would treat Jesus. So if you treat kids in a way, you're going to treat Jesus in a way. And then Jesus comes with some pretty stern words. He uses hyperbole to get his point across, but these words are pretty stern. And he says that there's a special pain and suffering that, judgment that's going to be provided to you if you cause others to stumble and sin, especially children. And I think that's pretty powerful. And because of that, there's several things that stand out to me or stick out to me in this passage that I want to share with you. And one is that the question that his disciples ask about who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven is present tense. It's not who will be the greatest, it is who is the greatest, which leads me to believe that they're either speaking about someone who has passed on and is living in heaven now, who's in heaven now, which doesn't theologically line up. But, they did see Moses and Elijah, so maybe that's where they're coming from. Maybe they're trying to figure out who of the Old Testament prophets is the greatest in heaven, those that would be in heaven right now. Or they're saying that the kingdom of heaven is now. And that lines up with what Jesus was saying. He said the kingdom of heaven is near, the kingdom of heaven is here, it's with you. So they may be asking who among his followers and disciples are the greatest. Regardless of what the disciples meant, Jesus teaches them that, don't worry about that stuff. You really want to know who the greatest is? It's the least. Those that live in humility and utter dependence on God. Those are the greatest. Second is that Jesus is really harsh on those that cause others to sin, and especially those who cause children to sin. And think about that for a moment. Think about how sad and terrible that is. And then think about how sad and terrible our world is and what we do with kids. We are terrible with our children. So many are kidnapped and forced into slavery. It's terrible. I wonder what Jesus would say about that. And third is that the children have angels that are constantly in God's presence talking good about them, is what I infer. So are these guardian angels? Who are these angels? We don't hear a lot about angels in the Bible. So are there guardian angels? Now, I have heard some stories from some very honest people, some people that wouldn't lie or embellish about stories. I've heard stories of a truck driver who was in a head-on accident, and the guy who hit his truck in the sports car miraculously lived. And he asked the truck driver, who picked him up and moved him out of the car. Now, notice he said, who picked him up, not how did I get out of the car. He said, who picked me up and moved me out of the car. And the truck driver swears that it was an angel who saved both of their lives. There are others who would tell many stories about how they miraculously lived through something and that they must have had a guardian angel watching over them. folks that have spun out in the snow and their car was caught and then had two dents in it, like someone put their hands in it. Those stories we can't explain. I don't know if we do have guardian angels. I definitely hope we have guardian angels. I don't know what they look like. We've heard stories in the Old Testament, especially about God's messengers who came looking like humans. They were in human form. But then we read about cherubim and seraphim who definitely are not humanoid at all. In fact, they're kind of scary looking. So I don't know about angels. But like I said, I definitely hope that there are angels around us, that there are angels taking care of us and protecting us and talking good about us to God in heaven. So may you go this week, and may your angel have lots to brag about to God about you. Grace and peace to you. God bless you. Have a great week.